What's up, Leafs fans, and welcome to Leafs Digest. This one's just a quick one, but we're breaking down the news of Jack Campbell officially being announced the starter of the Leafs for Game 1 of the playoffs. The series starts Thursday, May 20th, 7:30 p.m. against Montreal Canadiens, and I think we were expecting this one. The way Campbell played down the stretch here, played all season long, really. It was a no-brainer to start him in the playoffs. Freddie wasn't ready to go. Riddick was no real competition for Campbell coming in here. Goody, how do you feel about Jack Campbell being named the starter for the Leafs in Game 1?
It feels right. He's been hot from the very get-go with us. He had a record-setting start with the Leafs. First one of that many wins in such an elapsed amount of time. So crazy for him. I think you got to ride that momentum going in here. We've had the conversation a ton recently about how good goaltenders really come and go, and not really in the form of people, but in the form of years. So right now it's clear that Jack Campbell is hot. Our guys can play in front of him. At times, even when Freddie's been good, we've struggled to sort of muster up the confidence in front of him. It never really seems to be an issue with Campbell. It's always consistent. I think it's more just an aligning of times with the teams and how that's working out versus like Freddie being a less adequate goalie than Campbell. I think it's just exasperated by the changes this year and Campbell slotting in better. But there's no doubt in my mind, he's the guy we got to ride throughout the first round and hopefully way deeper than that.
Yeah, I agree. I think one thing that stood out to me is something that I heard actually Ray Ferraro say from TSN, and he said that Jack Campbell is an elite goaltender right now. He may not have been in years previous, and he may not be next year, but right now, Jack Campbell is an elite goaltender. Jack Campbell has done every single thing he could possibly do to earn this net. He hasn't had it handed to him. It didn't get accidentally fall in his lap. He has earned this net. Even before Freddie went down with injury, Campbell was playing unbelievable. He was doing everything and beyond that a backup goaltender should be doing. Essentially, you're looking for your backup goaltender to provide you with about a 500 record, really. Like when they go in there, they're taking about, in the newer NHL, they're taking probably about between 30 to 40% of games from the starting goaltender just for rest, back-to-backs, etc., and weaker matchups. But you're looking for a guy to put up a 500 record, and he's going 100%. Like, he's winning every single game that he goes in the net. What more can you want from your backup goalie? And then your starting goalie, and Frederik Andersen, goes down, and this guy says, no worries, boys. Get on my back, and let's go here. He puts up an incredible start to the season, going 11-0, a record start, and he has done everything in his power to keep this net. And then it just so happens that Freddie did not come back in time, and I think on top of something you said there, like the boys play well in front of him, I think they are super driven to win in front of him. I don't necessarily think that a team goes out there onto the ice and says like, oh, Campbell's in net, we have to play harder because Campbell's in net. I don't think that that's a scenario. They're NHL players. They're professional hockey. This is the highest level of hockey. And you don't think, like, I don't think players of that magnitude go out there and they play harder because a guy's in net. I think they are more comfortable in front of him, though. I think they're more comfortable that he's going to make the save. I think that the attitude he brings, the effort that he brings, and the accountability that he takes night in, night out on every single goal, every single play that happens, gives this team confidence and comfortability with him in that net. And I think this is the right decision going forward. I think that he should be in net for pretty much every single game. I know there's a couple back-to-backs, which will be kind of interesting and will be something that you and I can look at as this series goes on. But I think that this should be Campbell's net going forward. Unless he slips up or until he slips up, this should be his net.
I think so too. And one of my favorite things about Freddie was the level-headedness. I know sometimes it might not seem like he's the level-headed playing style because he's got some poor performances in a lot of recent history games, but I just mean that Freddie actually never seems two-faced. It's a goalie that it's a feature you really want in your starting goaltender.
For sure.
And Campbell shares that too, which is nice. He doesn't come in there all animated or upset with his players. He could care less about if a goal is his fault or not. He's got the same expression on his face after. He's not going to blame anyone or himself. Well, sometimes he will himself in the media to lift the pressure off of his teammates, but yeah, he's a great guy.
There's that accountability factor too, right?
Exactly. And you know what's hilarious, Phil, as I was listening into the Don Cherry content he's putting out today, and he described Jack Campbell as cocky. So I think Don's fully out to lunch. We know this a while ago, but that really confirms that Jack Campbell's an amazing guy, and to hear Don call him cocky was a little bit backwards. But I'm excited for what him and the Leafs are going to get up to.
That's a hilarious take. I did not even hear Don Cherry say that. That's so funny. It's probably just because he had that one video of him winking, and then Don Cherry lost his mind. A goaltender should not be winking. But yeah,
Definitely what happened.
All right, and then moving on here, still on Jack Campbell, but the NHL released their power rankings of the top 16 goaltenders heading into the playoffs here. The Goalie Power Rankings. And this list by the NHL is complete slander to our boy Jack Campbell. There's no other way to put it. Let me read you the list of the top 16 goalies. And let's keep in mind, there are 16 teams in the playoffs. Okay? 16 teams in the playoffs. There's 16 starting goalies. These are the goaltenders on this list. Andrei Vasilevsky, Marc-Andre Fleury, Connor Hellebuyck, Grubauer, Varlamov, Rask, Leonard, Saros, Binnington, Mike Smith, Bobrovsky, Carey Price, Talbot, Mrazek, Nadal. I always stumble on that name. Nedeljkovic, and then Tristan Jarry in Pittsburgh. Where is Jack Campbell? Where is Jack Campbell? You're telling me there is 16 goalies in the playoffs that are better than Jack Campbell right now? I'm not talking previous seasons. I'm not talking what he'll be next year. There are 16 goalies in the NHL right now better than Jack Campbell. Garbage. That's blasphemous. That's what that is, Goody.
Well, it's supposed to be a power ranking too. Like, we're not supposed to give guys credit on what they could be or what they have been in recent years. It's all about right now who you want on your team. Mm-hmm. And statistically, pretty much all answers are going to lead you to Jack Campbell. And especially when you're in a top 16, look at the top 16 teams in the league. It's like, okay, come on. First in the North, he's been your starting goaltender for the most recent time with the team. It's a ridiculous list. It's funny. I think sometimes the NHL is so pro Toronto that they need to throw out some slander like that. So whatever. I guess that balances it out for all the other favors the NHL does for Toronto and vice versa. But still, a bogus list nonetheless.
Yeah, and you know what? Like, I really can't disagree with any of the top 8. Vasilevsky, Fleury, Hellebuyck, Grubauer, Varlamov, Rask, Leonard, Saros. I know Leonard and Fleury are on the same team, but they won the trophy of the best goaltending tandem in the NHL this season. Fleury is going to be up for the Vezina, whether he wins it or not. I think he's going to be a candidate, and I have no problem with both of those guys being in this top 16. I think that Leonard is an incredible platoon to Fleury. I know Fleury's had an outstanding season this year, but Leonard has had nothing to scoff about. He's played incredible all year long, so no problems with the top 8. But let me list to you a couple of guys. I did some extra research here in a couple of guys that I think Campbell is definitely better than. And here's some for sure, and then I'll wait and throw the last one out there at the end that you might maybe, or you might not, you might agree, but some people are going to have a problem with me saying this. But I think right now Campbell is better than Jordan Binnington, Talbot, Nedeljkovic, Jarry. And the final guy that I would say Campbell is better than this year, and I think the only reason this guy is on this list ahead of Campbell, at least, he might be in this list regardless, but at least he's ahead of Campbell, Carey Price. I think Jack Campbell is a better goalie right now, especially this season, than Carey Price. I really do. I really strongly do. I think Carey Price only got in there because previous accolades and what he's done in the past. And I think there's no other way to put it. Everyone looks at Carey Price like he's an elite goaltender still. He may have it in him, but he has not played like one in the past few years. But people continue to look at Carey Price and say, elite goalie, elite goalie, elite goalie, just because of what he's done. And I think that that's wrong. I think that at least this season, Campbell is definitely better than him.
Yeah, the sample size with Campbell, although it's pretty solid, it was not as great to really say we're now dealing with a guy who's a day in, day out starter. Mm-hmm. It's tough, right? We're really going to get a big test in this first round, and we're going to see what Campbell's made of. So far, all indications are good. It's really difficult because I do make the point for the power rankings being about a real isolated look at how people are doing right now. Mm-hmm. That's still relevant and important, but I can't simply ignore what we've seen from Carey Price. I don't think I could put Campbell above Carey Price at the moment, just in a sense that Carey Price is a lot more seasoned. He might not be peaking like Campbell is right now, but in the playoffs, it is a little bit scary to think about a guy like Carey Price getting hot at the right time. And Montreal, not a great team, but they're a sleeper team. They got some guys who can help Carey Price get this done if he heats up at the right time. So it's a little bit scary over there. I know they've had their kinks to work out this year. The Leafs are more close to a final product. So that's something that we can, grain of salt as well, looking at Jack Campbell. I still think it's slander he missed the list. But another guy you mentioned too, Jordan Binnington, I'm really high on him, especially when it comes down to playoff time. So I think Binnington and Price are two guys I would have trouble seeing that with, but Campbell still deserving over a lot of those names you said.
Yeah, fair enough. But when I look at it, so Jack Campbell's record this season, I'll just put it up on the screen here. He started in 22 games. His record was 17-3-2, goals against average 2.15, save percentage 9.21. The goalies that he had a better record than: Jordan Binnington, Carey Price, Nedeljkovic, and he had a similar record to Cam Talbot. Goalies that he had a better goals against average than: Binnington, Smith, Carey Price, Talbot, Yari. Goalies he had a better save percentage than. These are all guys on that list, by the way. Binnington, Price, Talbot, Yari. Binnington, he had a better record, GAA, and save percentage than Binnington and Price. He was higher than him on the list on both of those, on all three of those accounts.
Yeah, I hear you completely. And like I said, if we're going to make it completely isolated about this past stretch, then yeah, Jack Campbell's got to be considerably high up on the list. The fact he missed the thing completely is so dumb. But when I look at a guy like Carey Price, like Jordan Binnington, I guess statistically, yeah, you're correct in this case of the argument. But we've seen more from them clearly in the past in the playoffs. I know Carey Price still has his asterisks next to a lot of different things in his career until he finally goes through and wins one. But I've still seen more from Carey Price as of this moment. Not this season, but in general, right? These are the playoffs. I want to see guys battle tested. This is relatively uncharted for Jack Campbell. And this Maple Leafs group has a lot to prove and a lot of pressure. So let's see what happens. I'm not entirely sure. I just know Jordan Binnington can come through on the biggest stage. Again, we got to take into respect sort of the conferences as well. The North, I know this isn't doing Carey Price any favors bringing this up, but the North, a lot of people might have been looking at the power rankings for the goalies and saying, okay, considerably lesser division, right? More losing teams in the North. So a goaltender like Campbell, right? How much credit are we willing to give him? Something like that.
I got to jump in and say, Hellebuck was third on the list. Mike Smith was also on the list, and Carey Price is on this list.
It's a good point. It's massive slander that he missed.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say other than that. It's hard to justify it. I think it's an absolute bogey, but.
Yeah, I don't know. I think our guy Campbell deserves more respect. His record alone this year speaks for itself. He set an NHL record, or a Leafs record at least, for an 11-0 start to the season, unseen before. Played incredible. He's 17-3-2 on the year, 2.15 GAA, and a 9.21 save percentage. It's been an incredible year for him, and I just can't wait to get the playoffs started. I'm absolutely buzzing right now. It's Sunday, May 16th. We're about 4 days out from the first game of the series against the Montreal Canadiens. Thursday, May 20th. I'm going to be buzzing. I know we got a bunch more pods coming out this week, breaking down this series, lineups, power play lines that we're looking at, and I couldn't be more excited, Goody.
It's going to be fun.